You're listening to the REI Marketing Nerds Podcast, the leading resource for real estate investors who want to dominate their market online. Dan Barrett is the founder of AdWords Nerds, a high-tech digital agency focusing exclusively on helping real estate investors like you get more leads and deals online, outsmart your competition, and live a freer, more awesome life. And now, your host, Dan Barrett.
All right, everybody, this is Dan Barrett. I'm here with Frank Heron from SWFLcashbuyers.com. That is Southwest Florida cashbuyers.com, but just with the initials there. He is a real estate investor in Southwest Florida. It's basically, we were just talking about this, buying this huge area like from Marco Island all the way to Sarasota. So basically, if you are anywhere near Southwest Florida, there's a chance you're going to run into Frank. So Frank, welcome, man. Welcome to the show. Super happy to have you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So let's get started the way we typically do. Walk me through how you got started specifically in real estate investing, because investing is kind of a weird part of the world, right? So what was your into this whole industry that we're both a part of?
So back in 2001, I had a bunch of buddies that were doing this business and I was dying to get into it, probably like a lot of people are now. And they were flipping 20, 30 houses a month. And I was like, guys, just let me get in. And they got me in. They taught me the business. And then I flipped my first house down in Fort Lauderdale, probably 2002. And I made $7,000 and I thought I was a millionaire. Although 7,000 was a lot more in 2001 than it is now.
Right. Yeah.
And then I think I took that money, I parlayed it into two other, we're talking like $40,000, $50,000 purchase price deals. I had them with a hard money lender. And then I just grew that into like 6 months later doing like 7 to 10 houses a month.
Wow.
Because back then our primary area in Fort Lauderdale was just this little area with cheap houses where you would get them for 40 and you're flipping them for like 100, 110.
Wow.
Bread and butter down there.
So I'm assuming that went through a pretty significant change around 2008, right? Because you're saying 2001 is when you got started?
Yeah, so I did that for about 5 years. And then I started flipping a lot of houses. My motto was like, why should I flip 10 small deals when I can flip one big deal in like the Oakland Park, Wilton Manors area? So then I just started doing like 1 or 2 a month, high-end properties where we were pulling out a ton of money. And then, of course, I seen the market changing around 06, 07, when we were trying to flip these houses to people and they couldn't qualify and they did away with the, no stated, no doc income loans. I was like, oh boy, and then it just went downhill quickly. And thank God I didn't have a lot of properties. So I kind of made it out.
So it's interesting, right? Because I talked to a lot of people who went through that time, right? It seemed like your spidey sense went off. You could sort of tell something was happening. So did you consciously diminish the amount of like properties you had and like risk that you had? Or was it just kind of, did you see that coming, or was it more just kind of luck where you're like, oh?
Well, I seen it coming because if you can't move your properties, you're in big trouble. Buying them is one thing, but getting rid of them is another. And we were just having a real problem getting people financed. So we just stopped buying altogether.
Right. Yeah.
And stop buying, stop flipping, whatever. We weren't wholesaling back then, of course. It was just purchasing. And it went downhill quick.
Yeah, that's wild, man. So walk me through that time. Because I don't know. Sometimes people don't like to talk about it. I think everybody has a little bit of PTSD from it. But
yeah.
What was it like? What was it like getting out of that and sort of getting back to normal? Because we can flash forward a little bit. You are a very successful investor. You're investing all over Southwest Florida. We were talking about this before. You do every kind of possible type of deal type. You have been there and done that, right? So what was the process like going from what you had done to that kind of post-2008 landscape?
Well, when it started going down, of course, everybody was doing, if you were active in the market back then, you could just fall into $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 profits.
Yeah.
So I took a lot of that money and I bought some small businesses, cash businesses. So thank God that got me through the rough period. But getting out of the market, it was hard. There was a lot of upset people. We were holding some houses for people. So many people were going bankrupt and including those properties in their bankruptcy. And again, I didn't have any properties in my name back then, but we were managing a lot of properties, kind of doing the property management for people.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just got pretty ugly. Of course, when you were making money for people back then, they loved you to death.
Right.
But they actually thought '07 was my fault. Like I controlled the market or something.
Right.
I owned 2 businesses. I owned a juice bar and a tanning salon. I was doing very well at those, even in the recession period. And then in '08, I had somebody come to me and I started the medical business, which I ran that medical business for about 10 years and I was very successful at that. And then in 2012, somebody started talking to me about wholesaling and short sales. I was like, come on, man, that doesn't work. Actually, that might have been like 10, 11, because I think I got back into it 11 or 12, right around there.
Right.
And I've been doing it since. And all the way up to my first deal, which I believe was in 11. I'm talking about my first wholesale deal. My wife did not believe that wholesaling worked.
Right.
She's like, why would somebody sell you a house at this and you'd be able to turn around and do this and that? And I remember standing next to Sean Terry out at one of his events in 2012. I'm like, Sean, I just got my first deal, man. It's like a $27,000 deal. And it's quite funny.
Well, it's funny because I also, when I got my first client that was wholesaling as I was an online marketer, just kind of working with whoever, the first investor that I worked with, I had the exact same reaction where I was like, this is totally a scam. I don't understand.
It doesn't work. No way.
So, all right. So I want to ask about this. So this strikes me as like something really amazing, right? Where you felt kind of cash tightening. You bought these other cash businesses, right? The juice bar, the tanning salon, the medical business. So I'm really curious, like you are pretty unique, I think, among a lot of investors in that you've been successful in a lot of very different business types, right? So I'm really curious about why do you think that is? Like, what is it about your, approach or your personality, or what is it that allows you to kind of jump from these very different businesses and have a lot of success?
Number one, I'm sure everybody knows about the 4 different personalities. I am red to red. Just 100% red. I bought into a home investors. We buy ugly houses in 2012. And I was so red, I didn't even think they were going to let me join into the business because it was down to the point where like I wanted to change the rules and why are you guys doing this? And,
Right.
They're a very successful business, of course.
Yeah.
But I swear I was so red, I didn't know if they were going to let me join,
Right.
And I wanted to join them because, of course, I thought they were going to give me all the leads.
Right.
So, okay, so why do I think I'm successful in businesses? I think I have good foresight. I think I can see what's coming down the road, and I kind of think we're getting to that point again. A lot of people that are just getting into the market tell me I'm nuts. There's no way market's on fire. There's no way it could go down. And I'm just sitting back going, I'm telling you, it's coming. It's coming. So,
yeah. Well, it's funny, man. Like I am in a mastermind with a lot of investors, and to me, the pattern that I noticed was the longer the person had been an investor, right? So the longer that they had had success, the longer they'd been in the market, the more that they were concerned, this was last year, about a market correction this year and the next year, right? So I was like, oh, that's a very like noticeable pattern. The more experience someone has, and I don't even want to say like the more concerned they were about it. It's just the more that they realize that that's a possibility. And I think a lot of people, if all they've known is a certain kind of market, it's kind of hard to imagine how quickly that can change.
That's my point exactly. They tell me like, like how can it go down? How this? I'm just like, well, first of all, it's supply and demand. You need to keep having buyers at these prices. And these prices are so outrageous now. I'm not in a good market. Naples, there's zero distress over here. It seems like everybody's rich. And I don't even really do I don't even purchase properties. And I'm doing like 7 a month now, maybe 8 a month. I'd say I get one every 2 or 3 months in Naples. Most of my business is from Fort Myers to Sarasota, Manatee County. And I don't know, we're just so topped out, and new construction, because there's tons of land over here on the west coast of Florida, but new construction is hampering how high the flips can go. So, you're buying properties, say 3 years ago, just for a little bit less than you're buying them now, but they can't go any higher. Because why would someone pay $200,000 for just say a house in Lehigh Acres over here, when for $220,000 they can get a brand new, gorgeous new construction?
Right. It strikes me as there's this like repeated pattern that humans go through where they underestimate the probability of something unexpected happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the thing that got pointed out to me and I was like, wow, it's really true is like, if you look back in history, it's like every worst earthquake in history, like the worst tornado in history, the worst tsunami, like whatever, the most destructive event. Before that event happened, nothing like that had ever happened. And so people would look back and say, well, we're never going to get a tornado this strong because that's never happened in the history of humanity, right? And I'm like, but there's always a first time for everything, right?
Yeah.
So it's any specific thing might not be likely, but something is likely. And so this whole question of like, well, how could it possibly happen? I'm like, I don't know. Just the fact that maybe it hasn't happened in the past doesn't mean it can't happen in the future. We fall into that trap a lot. You know what I mean? I think that's the very natural thing for people to do if they just haven't thought it through very much.
Yeah. I'll tell you, the first time again in 06, 07, I had buddies putting, so a big thing down in Miami was flipping condos, right?
Yeah.
So you were taking your 10, 20% down and putting it on a condo. And then 2 years by the time it was ready, you were making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 profit.
Right.
And I had a good buddy that was taking all this money and putting it in condos. And I was like, I'm not going to say names, but I was like, man, do you realize that condos are not moving right now? Like, because so many people did that 3 years ago.
Right.
Now there's just thousands and thousands and thousands of condos on the market. And sure enough, I have a buddy that lost probably $500,000 on condos. And I mean, hard, cold cash. You know what I mean? And that's just one buddy. I mean, and it's kind of going, I think it's kind of happening again in Miami. And that really bring the market down there.
Yeah.
Want to find motivated seller leads online, but don't know where to start? Download our free 2019 Motivated Seller Keyword Report today. AdWords nerds have spent over $5 million this year researching the most profitable keywords for finding motivated seller leads. And you can grab these exact keywords when you download our report at www.adwordsnerds.com/keywords.
Well, let me ask you. So, and I'm really interested I'm always fascinated by people. I live in a world like the online marketing world, right? There's a lot of coaches out there. And one of the things that you learn very quickly is that like a lot of the people who want to teach marketing or whatever, they've never done it, right? So they learned it and now they teach it and they make their money from teaching it, but they never actually made any money from actually doing, right? I'm always fascinated by people who have a repeated track record of success. And now you were successful in real estate, successful in, like the juice business, right? Is successful in all these different businesses, successful again in a very different real estate market. I'm curious, and it sounds like maybe the medical business was the one you ran the longest. What did you learn from those other businesses that you now think about or apply inside your real estate?
It's kind of tough.
It's a tough one. It's a stumper.
Yeah. Like I said, I think I just have good foresight and I try to be, as you get older, I mean, when you're in your 20s, you're just reckless. And as you get 30s and get married and have kids, I mean, your whole world changes.
Yeah.
So, I live a great lifestyle now, but I've definitely gotten more conservative as I've gotten older, not just a knucklehead. I mean, I honestly can't wait for the market to correct and go down because the knowledge I've gained over the last 7 years, I just can't wait to be buying properties for 20 and 30 cents on the dollar when the market goes down and tanks, I don't ever think it's going to tank like it did, but it's definitely going to correct. And who knows what it is, 10, 20, 30, 40%. We don't know,
Yeah. Well, it's the whole thing, right? It's buy low, sell high. That's the whole idea. And I think if you can have money ready to go, that's the person that makes all the money in the correction. Right? The person that's got money out of the market that they can put in the market at the right time. If you're super over leveraged and the market goes down, well, you're one of the ones that people profit off of, right? Which is
So a lot of people call me and want me to be, train them and all these different things, and they ask me questions. I said, listen, man, it comes down to buy cheap and sell high. That's what real estate is.
Well, it's easy when you say that, but but
that's what it really all comes down to.
I know. I mean, so let's talk about how you run your real estate investing business today. We were talking about this before we jumped on, before we started recording. And again, I highly recommend if you're listening to this, you're an investor, and definitely if you're a seller, but if you're an investor, go check out Frank's website. It's at swflcashbuyers.com. So swflcashbuyers.com. And we were talking about, you have this like little cartoon caricature of yourself, which is really cool looking and it's like neat. And I was saying like it really gives a lot of personality to the site, where I think a lot of investor sites have almost no personality. And we started talking about marketing, and you were saying, like you think of yourself as a marketer first. So can you talk to me a little bit about that? Like when you say that, like what do you mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're a wholesaler, because not a lot of rehabbers market for properties. They pretty much buy them all off wholesalers. So if you're a wholesaler, you need to, of course, set yourself apart. Like you said, if you Google right now, 9 million people have, what is that called? Investor Carrot. And They all look pretty much the same. So you got to kind of set yourself apart, And then, on all my mail and all my postcards, I was doing more of the corporate look, like the picture you had said.
Yeah.
But a lot of people think you're a realtor. And so I started putting myself on that cartoon. I started putting that on my mail now and on all my marketing. And I think it just sets me apart a little bit. So, you got to be good at marketing to set yourself apart to get these deals, because they're so hard to get right.
Well, and I love the little note that you just said about you don't want to look like a realtor. I never really even thought about that, but that's super true, right?
Well, it depends how you market yourself, because a lot of people now in competitive cities, like just say Miami, they're not even marketing themselves as the buyer. They're marketing themselves as they'll bring you a buyer. You know what I'm saying? So it's okay to look like a realtor if you want to do that. But I'm representing myself as the cash buyer. And I don't know. I just like the cartoon look a little more now.
Yeah. Well, and it also gives you like a really strong visual anchor. And, I think a lot of it is just who comes to mind. When you get into the situation where you need to sell, you are motivated to sell, right? Who comes to mind in that instance? And I think that the cartoon does a great job of kind of anchoring it. And again, if you guys are listening to this, I highly suggest you go check it out so you can see what we're talking about at swflcashbuyers.com. You can see it like it's kind of in the lower right-hand corner as I'm looking at it, but it'll be somewhere on the page. So talk to me a little bit about, you've been in this game a long time. Obviously, the marketing game has changed a lot. So like, what have you noticed in terms of like what kind of marketing is working for you? And we don't have to talk about specifics, but I'm talking about more like the approach and like kind of what you think about when you're putting together a marketing.
Well, when I started in 2012, I mostly did, SEO, which was very easy back then because there wasn't a lot of competition. PPC was extremely easy. I couldn't even spend my budget if I wanted to.
Right.
And my budget was like back then, maybe 150 a day. Couldn't spend it if I wanted to, And now, and of course, mail was pretty responsive, I guess, back then, even though it sounds horrible. It was a 1% response rate. Now I'm up to 50,000 pieces of mail, and I probably get like a 0.4 or 0.5 response rate, which is horrible. But you just have to send so much mail to get the same amount of leads.
Yeah.
My budget now on PPC is probably $350 a day. I've actually stopped that this month because I just feel like the only people clicking on ads now are other people clicking on your ads to see what you're doing, because they're not getting the leads we used to get,
Right. Yep.
And then as far as SEO, that's become, I think the experts in this business, they realize that SEO is where the money's at right now.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, especially your serious sellers, your probate people, I don't mean your person that's falling behind a mortgage and their house is going up for auction, in 2 days. People are doing research now. And if you're doing your job on SEO, I think it's a great way to get leads now. I'm actually signed up with you guys on SEO with Patty.
Yeah. And I think, again, that's another reason for people to check out the site. I think you do a good job of providing resources to educate the seller. But I do think that there is a noticeable difference there in lead quality between the person that's spending a little bit more time on the site, they're reading a little bit more, they're looking into things, versus the person that's just clicking the ad and filling out as many forms as humanly possible because the mob's coming to their house tomorrow, they're going to kill them and they need to sell it. You know what I mean?
It's so competitive now that, those aren't even the good leads anymore, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because there's always a rookie or two in there that will go way over what they're supposed to be spending on it, and it just gets out of control, really.
Yeah, I think we're definitely in a market where the forms of online marketing are getting significantly more competitive. And so, for me, it's really become an issue where it's not that, obviously I still believe in online marketing. It's all I do every day, right? So I know that it works, but it's much more, hey, we're going to do 5 different things, have 5 different channels, and we're splitting our budget among them because no one thing is going to be the big thing that's going to bring us everything that we need, right? We really have to be diversified. And I think you've done a really good job on that. I do think SEO is, I said this year, and I think it's going to be even more true next year. I think investors have really ignored SEO and done a lot of really low quality SEO because, hey, I can throw $100 at it and hey, that'll be fine. And I just don't think that's going to cut it at all. And, the kind of marketing that we're getting into where the margin is so critical and the ROI is so critical, SEO is just going to play a bigger and bigger part in that world, I think. So, I think you're basically, 5 or 6 months ahead of everybody else, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah. So, SEO in this year, I probably have 2 $50,000 deals, probably 2 or 3 $40,000 deals, and a bunch of, a bunch of real good ones in there. The PPC ones, it's just, like I said, it seems like they're getting smaller and smaller because they fill out 5 or 6 different forms,
Yeah. And I think it's certainly true. And, everybody knows this, but it's like, obviously it's market dependent and all that stuff. But I think we're saying it right now. I'm going on the record. 2020 is the year of SEO for real estate investing. You said it. I said it. We're official. You want to be on my 2020 SEO committee? I'm putting you on.
Yeah, man. I'll keep track of all the deals I get on SEO.
All right. Perfect. Awesome.
From you guys, actually.
Yeah. Beautiful. So, all right, man. So, I don't want to, I kind of want to keep talking to you, but I don't want to keep you super long. One of the things I wanted to ask is, this is what everybody's going to wonder. And I know you get this question all the time, right? If you're a real estate investor that doesn't have the experience that you've had, you've been through the ringer, like you're saying, we've done like every possible deal type. If you're, kind of a newer investor starting right now, you're listening to this podcast, you're listening to you talk about like, hey, there's a market correction coming. If you were in that person's shoes, what would you do? And you can be as general or specific as you want. But what should that investor be thinking about if they haven't had this experience of going through these kind of tighter times before?
Well, there's a couple tips I can give on how to be, I would say, a better, I don't know, I'm not going to say salesperson, I guess better investor, wholesaler, whatever.
Sure.
Number one, to me, 90% of the money is in the follow-up.
Yeah.
I consider myself, my wife calls me a grinder. Other people call me tenacious. Other people call me annoying, If you're not following up in this market, I guarantee I'm taking your deal because, I go from, I guess, daily to every other day to weekly to monthly, sending the mail. A lot of people will get the lead and it's not a right now deal. Oh, I'm going to sell in January. Well, guess what? I'm calling them in December. I'm sending the mail in December. I have a real nice brochure I send them with all my mail about my title company, my Better Business Bureau, an About Me team, me, my wife, everybody that's on my team. So they have that there. And when they're ready to sell in January, if I can't get them, trust me, they're calling me. So a lot of people, I think, aren't following up. And as the market is so tight, you have to follow up with these people. A lot of people, I've been in sales my whole life. A lot of people are scared to hear the no, I don't want to sell right now, So
yeah, I'm 100% on board with you. And I would even go so far as to say people who think they're following up probably aren't following up nearly enough.
That's what I mean. I go from daily to every other day, as we go further back to monthly to, I got drip campaigns through all these Podio, Investor Fuse. I got my own drip campaign I did if they come in through PPC or SEO. Where they can send an email, a video 5 minutes after. Then it goes to the next morning, then 2 days later, then 3 days later. And it just keeps going. And you just got to stay in their head.
I love it, man. I think that's such a critical piece of advice. And I'm 100% with you. And, Yeah, man. I'm actually just going to leave it there because I'm sure you could keep going, but like that's such an important piece of advice that I kind of just want to leave it because I don't want to distract from it. And I just feel like just like you said, man, it's like, hey, you're already generating leads. You're spending money on the marketing. If you can just close a couple extra percentage points of deals, I mean, it would just change your business, right? So I think that's
a lot of the good guys say that you don't need more leads. You need to convert the leads you're getting.
Yes.
You need to dig into those more and follow up more. And that's where it's at.
Well, Frank, I know your last name is Heron, but today you are my hero. And no, all right. That was pretty bad. But if everyone's listening to this, is there anywhere like you want people to catch up with you online? Like, do you do like Facebook or Instagram or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, my Facebook is, the / and then My Real Options.
Okay.
Twitter is Frank J. Heron.
All right, cool.
At Frank J. Heron, whatever. And then what else? I don't really use a lot of social media. I'm kind of an old school guy. I mean, I go put stuff on there once a month. I also do the Instagram. I put some of my deals on there. As I'm leaving, I'll put a little teaser ad on there or something.
All right, cool. Are you, let's see, no, this is a different Frank Heron on Instagram, I think.
No, it's real. I only do the business. It's Real Options.
Oh, okay.
Real Options Investments.LLC.
All right, cool. So for people that are listening to this, oh yeah, I got you right there. Perfect.
.LLC.
Okay, cool. Because there's some other surly guy named Frank Heron Jr. that's not you. So what I'm going to do is people can go to adwordsnerds.com/podcast. You can find this episode with Frank. I'm going to have all the links to Frank's website, which is swflcashbuyers.com. We'll have the links to the Facebook, which is facebook.com/myrealoptions, the twitter.com/Frank J. Heron. And of course, we'll do the Instagram as well, which is instagram.com/Real Options Investments. Yo, Frank, this was amazing, man. Thank you so much for this conversation. I really appreciate it. And I got to say, I just really appreciate your take on this because you've like I said, man, you've been through it all. And I really, really appreciate you. So thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Cheers, everybody. Thanks.
All right. Take care.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.